Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I typically steer clear from politics on this channel. I use video games as like an escape from reality. I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. But what's transpired recently with Blizzard and how they've handled a pro esports player confiscating his prize money and suspending him from the tournament after he voiced support for Hong Kong protesters after winning an event? This goes way too far. Blizzard is in a heap of trouble and made a gigantic oopsie that everybody on the internet is extremely fired up about. This basically can be summed up as Blizzard has chosen to take money over supporting basic human rights. That's what this boils down to. Do they have the right to do it? Yeah, they do. As a private company, they can do whatever they want as long as it's legal. And if they want to ban someone because they feel like he's making their image look bad, then they can do that. But as such, people can react and boycott their products going forward. And that's what this is looking like it's turning into. And to be honest, I couldn't be happier about it. This entire situation has me way more fired up than I thought I would have been, but once I started reading through it and seeing how Blizzard reacted to it, along with what Blizzard themselves, an American company, according to Wikipedia, claims to stand for based off of their statues in the front of their building, doesn't really resonate with how they're reacting because there's money to be made in China. Blizzard has sent a professional esports player home from a tournament and handed him a 12-month ban after he voiced support for Hong Kong protesters during a post-game interview. Fuck you, Blizzard. First off, the esports player, whose real name is Chungying Wei, but who is known as Blitzchung, will also be fined the full amount the prize money he won from the Hearthstone Grandmasters regular season tournament. Fuck you, Blizzard. During the interview on the official Taiwanese Hearthstone stream, Blitzchung appeared wearing a gas mask, which he lifted up before shouting, "Liberate Hong Kong! Revolution of our age," in Chinese. Blizzard, an American company, America, a country that's been through a revolution, fighting against oppression, fighting against basic human rights, is taking China's side on this because there's money to be made. Fuck you, Blizzard. Blizzard appears to be arguing that Blitzchung's statements about the Hong Kong protests offended a portion or group of the public or damaged the company's image. Well, yep, I guess you could say it damaged your image in China, which basically runs a martial law, and what they say goes, and if they don't like something, you better put up or shut up or else you're out of that country and can't sell games there. So you bowed to the pressure and took the money. But ironically, by taking the money in China and bowing to the pressure, you as a company have offended a portion or group of the public and damaged your company's image. The situation highlights the thorny trade-off US-based companies face when operating in China, which offers a lucrative and massive market, but a different set of rules companies must play by. This is the modern world we live in right now that basically boils down to, if you want to do business in China, which has billions and billions of people, the largest market to make money in the entire world, you need to bow to the pressure that they demand or you can't do business there. Okay, fair enough. But by doing so, just know the rest of the world will hate you. I don't think this is a situation that Blizzard will come back from. I'm not talking like short-term, long-term. I think this is damaging to their brand forever. Blizzard has been tarnished by this, and there is no coming back from it. I know a lot of people on the internet are saying, oh, people forget about this stuff. They move on to new things. They don't hold grudges against companies. This feels different. And I'll get into that in a little bit. Here is the footage of the Hong Kong Hearthstone player calling for liberation. So you can see the announcers both duck and are laughing because they don't want to be associated knowing what he is about to say right now. And, oh, by the way, side note, they've been fired. So, yeah. Bad look, Blizzard.
光复香港时代革命。
导播可以切回来。
导播谢
And you
谢。
can see after that they try to cut away and go to commercial, but what he said was already out there and too late to back off from. After his exclamation, the two casters looked down, seemingly in an attempt to distance themselves from his remarks. Like I said, they've been let go anyways. I know what my action on stream means. It could cause me lots of trouble, even my personal safety in real life, he told the publication. Well, goddamn, if you're standing up for a revolution in the country when you feel like you've been oppressed by China, you gotta do what you gotta do. Blizzard is a US-based company where speech is protected by the First Amendment of the US Constitution, but it also operates in the authoritarian China thanks to a partnership with one of its China-based investors, Tencent. Oh, Tencent. China issues only a certain number of game licenses a year. They treat game licenses like cities treat alcohol licenses. They only give them to a certain amount of bars. And US-based companies often partner with game companies based in the country as a way to access the vast market and grow their sales. But partnerships like that often lead to clash of values. You don't say. Elsewhere in the tech industry, Google's parent company, Alphabet, was recently criticized by its own employees and US lawmakers for quietly working on a version of Google search engine designed for the Chinese market that would censor its results. The company has since said it's stopped working on the project. Yeah, I bet you have, Google. Blizzard announced the bans did not address whether Tencent or Chinese government influenced the decision. They did, but okay. Engaging in the act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, often a portion of the group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard image, will result in the removal from a Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to 0, in addition to other remedies which may be provided under the handbook of Blizzard's website in terms. So basically, they're falling to one of their rules in the terms and conditions that all participants must agree to if they're going to be playing the tournament, that they are subject to whatever Blizzard decides. They can have their money removed if they win. Wow, okay. This is standard terminology for a lot of contracts that people enter into, but I feel like Blizzard has really overstepped their bounds as far as what is acceptable to ban someone for, and the action itself really speaks volumes for what Blizzard stands for in the modern day that we find ourselves. Now, not everybody working at Blizzard is taking too kindly to this. Kotaku reported that Blizzard's company values don't mean very much today. People at the Blizzard office had pasted paper and tape over what's carved into the ground that says, "The Think Globally" and "Every Voice Matters." They cover those up. That is what's written, carved in stone on the ground at Blizzard. Think globally. Every voice matters. And then Blizzard goes ahead and says, oh, you voiced support for Hong Kong, and that gave us a bad look, so we're suspending you for a year, removing your prize money, and firing the 2 announcers. Bad look, Blizzard. Now, if your company didn't stand for these things, it'd be one thing. I mean, it'd still be a bad look. But saying you stand for these values at your corporate headquarters in California and then taking actions against a player like this for speaking out against oppression, it's one of the worst looks I've ever seen a company have in my life. And Slasher on Twitter just posted what the Chinese division of Blizzard's Weibo wrote. We are very angered and disappointed at what happened at the event and do not condone it in any way. We also highly object to the spreading of personal political beliefs in this manner. We will always respect and defend the pride of our country. And yeah, if anyone disagrees with our country and speaks out against it, ban them, fine them, and fire them. This is why I don't think Blizzard is coming back from this. The entire internet is up in flames against them, and nobody wants to be affiliated with that. Today, these security officers are arrested because they obstruct the police officer. What they did is stop the police coming in as they have no warrant or justified reason to enter this privately owned space. This is Hong Kong today. Please stand with Hong Kong. Like, holy crap, this is what Blizzard is endorsing when they say we're standing with China and we don't allow that kind of talk during a Hearthstone championship. This is disgusting. We don't allow other opinions. That not okay. Yeah, exactly. If you don't agree with Blizzard, then you are in the wrong. That is awful. Every voice matters unless, of course, you support Hong Kong or Taiwan or criticize our great leader, Winnie the Pooh. Exactly. Everybody is really pissed. Here is what it says on the ground at Blizzard. Every voice matters. Really, Blizzard? It does? There is no coming back from this. Like, Blizzard is in a whole heap of trouble. They decided to take the money instead of defend basic human rights. And because they did that, people are speaking out against them and starting to take a stand. And oh, guess what, Blizzard? There's a whole hell of a lot of games out there that people can play. They don't need to bother with a company that takes a stance that stands with a country that oppresses people because they're able to make money there. Now, an interesting little tidbit as well that I found on the Wall Street Journal. Activision Blizzard suspends esports player who backed Hong Kong protesters. All the way down here, one little tidbit here. Activision Blizzard's decision to suspend a protest-supporting esports competitor comes at a time when the company is seeking the Chinese government's approval to release a new Call of Duty game in the country. That's interesting. So maybe they didn't give you a bad image with that. Maybe the Chinese government said, hey, if you want to release your games here, we need you to make an example out of this player. Make him look like the worst person ever. Take a stand against Hong Kong, stand with China, and you can have all the money in the world. Well, you can certainly have all the money in China because that's how they do business. But in America, we do things a little bit different here. And I'd like to think that people aren't just taking a stand against Blizzard for a day or two, but for the rest of time. Blizzard just made a gigantic mistake. Now, people might say a lot of people who work at Blizzard don't deserve this because they don't stand with it. They even put tape down. They don't agree with the stance that Blizzard, one guy, may have made at the top of the company. But here's the thing. I've worked at video game companies before. I've worked at a lot of different companies before, as I'm sure you have as well. You represent a company you work for. The company that you work for makes a decision. You are a part of that. You have, in America, at-will employment. You have the right to leave and go somewhere else. So BlizzCon is going to be an absolute shit show this year. And I don't feel bad for any of the employees that are going to be having to deal with the people booing them, screaming at them, standing up for Hong Kong, which I'm sure plenty of people in the audience will be wearing pro-Hong Kong t-shirts and paraphernalia, and deservedly so. But people at BlizzCon, the employees there, if they have to deal with a lot of crap from people booing them, shouting at them, screaming them, cursing them, that's kind of what you signed up for working at Blizzard. Here's a heads up. Go find another job somewhere else and let Blizzard wither away to nothing. Because after making a decision like this, the last thing Blizzard deserves is your hard-earned money to play video games. There's plenty of other games out there to play. Leave Blizzard out of this. That's all I got for you guys today. This is a developing story, and like I said, the shit's rolling downhill. It's picking up steam, and it's only going to get worse from here on out for Blizzard. Interested to see what happens next, not just for Blizzard, but for the world economies and how these other game companies are going to be dealing with China. Are they all going to be bowing to their will every time China says you need to do something, even if it comes to basic human rights, just bulldozing right through them and saying, okay, give us the money and F the people because we don't care about human rights. We care about the bottom dollar at the end of the day. All I know, if I were an investor in ATVI, I would get the hell out of that right now. I don't care how much money Blizzard has coming to them from China. This is a bad look, and it's not going to end well. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash, J.